Hi, everybody. First time attending. Awesome to see ya. We're actually about to start right here, so you came in on awesome timing. I'm sure a lot of people are new coming from Kat Craig's side, so I'm sure you already know her, but welcome to Entry Level. Welcome to our talks. They are recorded if you have to go because time zones are super funky everywhere, so that is okay, but we encourage you to stick around and ask lots of questions and see stuff live. But without further ado, let's get started. So again, I'm sure everybody knows you, but could you give a little bit of like a self-intro for who you are, what you do, all that jazz?
Yeah, absolutely. So, hi everyone, I'm Kat Craig. Thanks so much for joining. I am a UI UX designer in both games and tech. I've been doing this for 17 years now, which is wild to say. And I've worked for various studios such as Nintendo, Microsoft, Larian, and now I'm at Jam City. We just released our latest game, Disney Magic Match, and I'm working on the UI for that game, and we're having a lot of fun with it right now.
Yeah, and how are you finding that switch from like 17 years ago in the industry to like now, like obvious
Oh,
things aside?
yeah, it's very different, and I kind of came at it in a non-traditional way. I learned a lot of it on the job. So I
Oh,
started as
okay.
a, graphic designer, and, I moved into web design, and UI UX wasn't really a thing. Aging myself a little bit here, but yeah, it wasn't even really called that back then.
Yeah.
And especially in games, like even now, UI UX is still like I think a lot of studios are still trying to figure out what exactly that means and what that needs to be in a game and everything, but it's super, super important, right? So just kind
Yeah.
of getting better at explaining what needs to be done for certain features, making sure that players understand what they're supposed to be doing, making sure the buttons all make sense, or making sure you don't overload the screen with UI, all that kind of stuff. And when you separate it between mobile, between
Yeah, I was gonna
console and
ask.
PC, it's very, very different. So I'm finding that with mobile games, especially, UX is especially important because you have such small real estate. So you have to make sure that it still makes sense and still is fun for the player on a small screen.
Yeah. You've talked a bit on like how you had to adapt from like even like PC to console has so many like different constraints that you kind of don't expect. I can't imagine like having to like really squish it down onto like a phone screen.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah,
have like
it's
a
it's difficult.
preferred one to work on?
No, I think they both like have their really interesting challenges. So what's
Mm,
cool about mobile is that you really kind of have to think outside the box. And you have
yeah.
to think about, okay, what can I communicate to the player on this tiny screen without adding like another piece of UI? Can it be done with VFX, or can it be done with a
Mhm.
vibration or a sound or something like that? So you kind of have to think about, what with the real estate that you have, like what can you do? But then on the flip side, if you're creating a console game that has very minimal UI, you still kind of have to think
Mhm.
about, okay, how do I communicate things with the player without like, completely changing the heads up display? So yeah, they both have their
Yeah.
interesting challenges.
That's cool. I didn't even think about the like vibrations and like sounds kind of really being that integrated with UI, but I guess like it makes sense completely.
Mm-hmm.
That's
For
super
sure.
neat. Can
Yeah.
I'm sure a few of us in the chat as well like know what UI UX is, but for those that don't know, can you kind of give us a little bit of an overview?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually like to really break it down in layman's terms because it just if I had known when I was younger, it would have made more sense to me. So UX in a game is basically how it feels when you're playing a game, how it feels to complete that level, how it feels to figure out that puzzle. Whereas UI are those, visual cues that help you finish
Mhm.
that level or finish that puzzle. So, you have that button that you need to press in order to jump, things like that.
Yeah. Is there like a specific reason that a lot of the times like they kind of come in a package too? Like you're expected to do both?
Um, it it kind of depends on the studio too. So I know for
Mhm.
AAA studios, a lot of the times be separated out. But then if you have a smaller studio, a lot of times you do have people that do both. So a lot of us at Jam City, we do both. So we'll map out all of the screens and map out the wireframes and the prototypes and making sure everything makes sense before we even touch, the finalized polished UI. But that's still part of like the pathway. So I think a lot of people confuse the two because a lot of people just say, oh, UX UI, so it just sounds like it should be all one thing, but they are in fact pretty different.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's really, yeah, that's cool. I know like some people have similar things in like tech art kind of spaces too, where it kind of nobody knows what it is. And so it kind of all
Yeah.
gets like mushed together almost.
It does, for sure. Yeah. It's not as like mushy, I guess, as tech art, but it definitely can be, for
Mm.
sure.
Yeah, and you said you were in graphic design, which is how I imagine like a lot of the UI elements kind of came
Hmm.
into play. But like, how did you get started in like UI UX for like games out of everything?
Yeah. So, my first foray into games, I think I was just very, very lucky. So it was right
Mhm.
place, right time. I was living in New York at the time and looking for a freelance job, and Nintendo happened to be hiring a web
Wow.
designer. And I was like, oh my God, I was like, I'm never gonna get this, but let me at least apply and see what happens. And I got the interview and I
Wow.
just gushed. Like I like freaked out. Like I was professional, but I let them know
Yeah.
like I grew up on Nintendo, like this is my dream job, like seriously. And I got the job.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. And now, granted, like I was working more on the marketing side of games at the time rather than actually doing the UI
Mhm.
for games, but it still gave me some insight onto how games were made at Nintendo and like how, the UI had to look a certain way and like the branding had to be a certain way. And so that's
Yeah.
kind of where I got my start. And I think because I had that on my resume, I was able to get more opportunities that way. So I feel really, really fortunate that I was able to do that. And then I kind of like bounced in and out of the industry. I obviously wanted to stay, but as we all know, the industry is really tough. So you kind of have to take what you
Yeah.
can get. So I would go back into tech. So I would work for Dell and things like that. But then when I
Mhm.
got laid off in 2023, I made the conscious decision to go back into games. Like I knew this is where I belonged. And
Yeah.
so to kind of keep that going, I would volunteer with studios. That was a big thing that I did.
Oh, nice,
I
nice.
also put together my own case studies. So I would do redesigns of older games and
Yeah.
put them together in a way that made more sense for someone with like low vision or low hearing, for example. And
Mhm.
a lot of networking, honestly. Like
Of
networking is
course.
huge. Like you just have to do it.
Do you have any advice just to jump off that really quick, like for networking for a lot? Like you've been
Hmm.
in here 17 years, networking alone has changed immensely from
Yeah,
the
for
last decade,
sure.
even. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really about meeting people. So you can't approach people with wanting something, right? Because people are going to see right through that. You can't just message someone on LinkedIn and say, "Hey, can you get me a job?" Like it's just it's not going to work for you,
Yeah.
So just treat it as like you're meeting someone new and you're learning about them. So maybe ask them if they're free for like 10-15 minutes to have a coffee chat and ask them about their job. Ask them what they like about working at their studio. How did they break into whatever industry they're in? Think of it as just building relationships, not like this is going to get me a job. Because honestly,
Mhm.
even with referrals, that may not get you a job. I've had referrals other places and I didn't get the job. So
Yeah.
it's really just getting to know people in the industry, making friends, and that helps a ton. But also, not only is it talking to people, but it's also sharing yourself. So, share what you're working on online, like share what game you're working on, share what UI problem you're coming across, and maybe people can help you out. So it's really just kind of putting yourself out there. And I know it's scary. I'm an introvert, believe it or not, and it was tough like putting myself out there
Yeah.
daily and just trying to talk to people, but it just really really helps you in the long run.
Yeah, I will say for those listening, like most people on LinkedIn in the games industry are very receptive, like to like even if they're busy and not able to help you directly, like typically you will get some sort of response or like feedback. Like it's a wonderful, wonderful community, and a lot of folks are introverts in it, so it works even better. Truly,
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
yeah.
My one caveat though is I'd say try and help yourself first. Like I've definitely had people that were
Mm,
just like, get me a job or I'll take
yeah.
anything. Like it just, it doesn't work that way. Like I want to help you, but I want you to help yourself a little bit first, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, of course, of course. And like that's kind of, I guess it's a learning curve in a way. Like a lot of people are very eager to like jump and immediately reach out to these people and be like, you've been told almost for like years and years, like just ask, just take that risk and ask them for a job, and
Sure.
not necessarily how it works anymore, so to speak.
Yeah.
But yeah, I second the coffee chat thing. I've met a lot of really cool people just through being like, hey, let's talk about like how is it going kind of thing.
Yeah,
Super easy. Yeah.
absolutely. And if I
Yeah.
have the time, like I always will, I'll always like give them my calendar and just have them choose a slot if I can take the time. So, yeah.
Yeah, and like of course thank you for taking the time for this. Like
Oh
I'm sure a
yeah.
lot of people are really, really excited to be like hearing
Aw.
kind of your experience. And like that Nintendo thing, I always hear from professionals, they're always like, oh, it was just right place, right time. But like your portfolio is wonderful. Like I'm sure it was back then also wonderful. Like
Aw, thank
there is a
you.
skill level to it that I really, every artist I feel like has that little bit of imposter syndrome as a friend.
Oh
But
yeah. Oh God. Like I still have it. I'm in my 40s and I still get imposter syndrome every new job I start. So it
that's
just doesn't go
crazy.
away. I hate to say it to you. Doesn't go
Do you have
away.
any advice with how you manage it?
Um, just give it time, like
Mm,
they hired you. That's what I try to remind myself. Like I'm the one they
yeah.
hired, I'm the one they chose. I wouldn't be here if they didn't hire me. So, yeah, it's just about like reminding myself like I deserve to be where I'm at right now. And I
Yeah.
mentioned earlier that I finally met my coworkers in person a couple days ago, and they were just so kind and like they're like, "Oh, we're so happy you're here and we love you." And I'm
Oh,
just like, "Oh, and that helps,
yeah.
But don't be afraid to tell that to your manager that you're feeling like imposter syndrome too, because like they're there to be like, "No, like you're doing great work," or whatever. So, yeah, it just
Yeah, it
it
really is
just
a
takes some
team, eh?
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And when you met them, was it for like a specific event or was it like a studio meetup? Like what was the
Yeah, well, it was their holiday party, and
Nice.
we also got to go to the Disney campus to see like some movies that are
Ooh.
coming out in the next 3 years. Like they gave us like sneak
Wow.
peeks of sketches and stuff like that, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool.
Wow.
So
No, that's awesome. That's such a cool like
yeah,
behind the curtain moment.
it was super cool.
Yeah. What have some of your like favorite bits of working on this like specific like
You
game been
know,
for you?
it surprised me. Like, it's just like such an interesting challenge coming up with this style because normally a
Yeah.
lot of the games that I've worked on before have had, very modern, like flat kind of
Mm.
style, whereas Disney Magic Match, we call it chonky style. So it's like
Okay,
very
yeah,
like
yeah.
plushy and like magical, and like it looks like you can kind of like lay on the UI because it's just
You can like squish it.
soft
Yeah,
looking.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it, kind of adapting to that style is a really fun challenge. So it actually kind of keeps me doing the artistic kind of stuff, which I really, really love, rather than just,
Yeah.
diving immediately into Figma and just, kind of doing that flat style that I'm so used to. It's been just a really fun challenge trying something different for a change.
Yeah, I was actually about to ask, so like great segue. Like do you use like primarily Figma? Like how do you do all these different styles?
Yeah, before I started at Jam City, yes, like I used Figma for pretty much everything for prototypes
Yeah.
and wireframes, and then I would do final UI in it as well, and it was just my
Mhm.
one-stop shop everything tool for everything. Whereas at
Wow.
Jam City, you know, we still definitely use Figma for our wireframes and our prototypes, but when it comes to UI, we do all of that in Photoshop. So that was interesting to me, like, because it felt
Mhm.
slower at first because I was so
Yeah.
used to like the snappiness of Figma that I was like, ah, this takes so much time. But it does come out beautiful, and you can do just much more beautiful effects and stuff in UI, like adding nice like shadows and rim lights and things like that that you just can't really achieve in Figma right now. Maybe later down the line, but yeah, right now Photoshop is still the king of all the apps for that, for sure.
That's cool though that you get to add like a bit more of your like I guess like illustrative side like into this like chonky kind of art
Yeah.
style.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Is it
Yeah.
still, if you don't mind me asking, is it still like vector like work that you're doing, or is it like rasterized like
Oh no, it's
illustration?
rasterized. So we just have to
Wow.
make sure that it's, you know, a big enough size that it can be, you know, sized as big or small as we need it. So
Wow. So that, yeah, that's a completely different wheelhouse then for sure from
yeah.
yeah. Wow.
Yep.
Do you
Yeah.
have one that you recommend people like jump onto when they're first learning, or is it kind of do what feels right, so to speak?
Um, in terms of software, you mean?
Yeah, software style kind of
Oh,
any advice you
um,
got there?
well, for software, definitely Figma because it's still like a tool that's definitely used like across not only games but also just tech industries in general. Like Figma
Mhm.
just seems to be like the tool. So definitely
Yeah.
learn that. And then in terms of style, like I'd say tackle what you want to. Like if you're interested
Nice.
in like a more stylized style, lean into that for sure. If you're more into modern style like Overwatch or whatever, like lean into that.
Mhm.
It's all about what you enjoy doing first, honestly.
Nice, nice. It seems like, at least from like an outside perspective, that like UI UX has such a like an open kind of availability for that, where it's like it really is people are looking for different things every single time that you kind of get to
Mhm.
express yourself a lot more than people realize.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
And are you like the sole UI UX? Are you leading a team? Are you collaborating
Oh
with people?
gosh,
How's that
no.
going?
So we have, let's see, I think we have 10. There's like 10 of
Mm,
us on the team, on the UI UX team, and we each own our own feature in the
I
game.
see, I see.
So, you know, I just finished working on Battle Pass. That'll be coming up in a couple of months. I
Ooh, that's
also worked
exciting. Yeah.
on, yeah, I just worked on a social feature. I think that'll be coming up in early in the new year. So we each have our own part of the game that we kind of own and that we take the
Mhm.
lead on, you know, and then we bounce
Okay.
ideas across our teammates just to get kind of feedback and everything. But we generally just own features rather than, you know, managing others.
Yeah, and how do you find, like, keeping that style consistent, especially in, like, UI, UX, it's, like, so important that everything looks almost
Yeah.
uniform in a way. How do you keep that kind of between, like, such a big team of people?
For sure. Well, we do have a style guide. So we
Nice.
have like all of our buttons and stuff laid out in Figma. So we can, you know, just grab them and making sure that we are using all of the same assets and everything. So
Mhm.
that helps a ton. But we're also just very transparent with one another. Like we're always talking about what we're working on. We're always asking to kind of get some more eyes on it. So we basically work through Slack and we'll just be, you know, putting up images like, hey, like here's my latest mock-up for blah blah. Like, what do you think? What should be changed? So we're pretty open with one another on what we're working on. So that kind of helps make
Nice.
sure that we're all remaining in the same style as well.
Yeah, that's super cool, like, I know a lot of people don't really know what style sheets are, but I definitely
Mm.
recommend, like, if you're in art, even, like, non-UI, like, it's so important for game design. I really
Oh
recommend you,
yeah,
like, look up into
absolutely,
it.
definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, and just a quick pause here. Thank you to everybody for joining in. We have been told we have unusual activity in the server because so many people are joining to say hi. So thank you for scaring all of the mods at once and welcome. Um, yeah, yeah. If you're again just joining in, we're just actually about to pivot into how you help a lot with newbies and folks kind of getting into this industry.
Mhm.
When I jumped in, I think it was around 2023. you were posting a lot of like, here's how I did this, here's how I did this. And now you're doing the same thing, and these like big lists of like, here's resources, here's potential job openings.
Yeah.
Like, do you have any kind of like, what's inspiring you to do all of this for like side volunteer work?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it comes from wanting that myself.
Mm,
I had some amazing mentors, and I still do have some great mentors, but I didn't find a ton of them in UI UX specifically. There's
mhm.
definitely some in the games industry and everything, and other areas. But I found, especially for women, there aren't a lot of, women mentors in this area.
That's
And
true. That's
I
true.
know for me, I really, really wanted that. So I want to be that person for someone. I
Yeah.
want to just have some that I want them to have the ability to reach out and not be afraid and ask whatever questions they want to, because I've been there. It's scary, you don't know this person. So it just feels better knowing that I can rely on someone. So if I can be that for someone, it's great for me too.
Yeah, and like even similar to like the women point that you made, like it's even like rarer just because you're dividing it again to like to find women and queer devs in the space. It's
Yeah,
like
definitely.
really cool to see folks, and like perspectives are always so different, right? Like no experience is going to be the same. So I imagine
Right.
that's very true for mentors too.
Yep, definitely.
Do you have any experience mentoring, and like how you found it and how kind of you led that?
Yeah. Let's see. So I've always loved mentoring, before I kind
Mhm.
of started doing it really actively on LinkedIn. I would try to mentor folks that I was working with at various jobs. I really get excited seeing them grow on their own and figuring
Yeah.
themselves out as human beings. Like it's just such a cool thing to see. So I knew once I discovered like Amir's amazing group of people that he works with, I knew I wanted to be a part of that. So I volunteered on his list, and I actually
Mhm.
didn't see a ton of UI UX people. So I was like, all right, this is
Yeah.
awesome. Like I can be one of those people. And so I started taking on various mentees that, kind of like came in and out of my life and everything, and they've gone off to do their own things, or they'll continue to kind of check in on me and everything. And they're at
Yeah.
various levels. Some people just need like a gut check on their portfolio, where others need like a little bit more, like, and they're kind of just starting out in their careers and they need help like putting together their portfolio to start with, or their resume, like they're trying to figure out their resume. So it's really just about figuring out what's best for them. I don't have like a one-stop shop for everyone, because everybody is kind of different and everybody is in different parts of their career. So I'm just happy to help where I can.
That's awesome. And do you have any like advice that you would like just project to everybody in like just kind of a catch-all? Like, do you have any advice that you'd give to people right away?
I tend to tell people, especially now, don't
Mhm.
pigeonhole yourself in just one area. So, yes, I
Yeah.
know I am a UI UX designer, but I also have interests in, like I mentioned, illustration, 3D modeling, tech art. So, if you have skills and interests in other areas, lean into those too, because I'm finding
Mhm.
more and more that a lot of studios love it when candidates can wear multiple hats. Like, I feel like it's really
Of
attractive to
course.
them that they can do multiple things at studios. So I'd say, pick different areas that you're interested in and showcase those. Like I feel like a lot of studios would really love that. Of course, it depends on the studio. And I know, there's recruiters out there saying, no, you need to specialize, but I don't know. I generally believe that generalists are kind of the way to go.
Yeah, yeah. And do you have any sort of advice for? I know a lot of people who go into generalism struggle a little bit with kind of like juggling all of these talents
Mm,
at once. Do you have any advice for like managing that time towards these skills?
yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
I generally just physically like have a schedule, either like in a physical like notebook in a schedule, or I
Mhm.
even just block out my calendar in Google and like, okay, this is the day I'm gonna work on this stuff, and then this is the day I'm gonna work on this stuff. And then I even include days I'm taking breaks. So I will block off certain times of the week that I'm just relaxing, watching TV, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it just helps to have that laid out for you rather than just, sitting at your desk and be like, I don't know what I'm going to do today because I'm just not sure. So, yeah, putting it actually in a schedule will help you a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great piece of advice. Even just having that like checklist of like I got this done, especially like if you're
Absolutely.
unemployed or searching,
Yep.
right? It's a
Yep.
huge motivator.
Yeah.
When you were like, obviously that's a devastating blow, especially in 2023 when all of these layoffs were happening. How
Mm.
did you kind of get back into the grind of like creating, which is such a
Mm.
positive thing out of such a negative situation?
Yeah, well, honestly, that's what kept me sane.
Nice,
I mean,
nice.
searching for jobs, as we all know, is really hard and kind of soulless
Yeah.
work. So again, I would only search for jobs, I think, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, whereas Tuesday, Thursdays were my learning stuff days. So that's when I
Nice.
would learn how to, create a stylized shader for a potion bottle or something, or, learn how to code in Unreal a little bit more. So breaking those days up to kind of learn new skills just revitalized me mentally, because I realized I was more than just a drone, like trying to find a job every
Yeah,
day,
yes.
you
Cog
know?
in the machine kind of beat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it just made me feel better. And like I would only do that stuff during the week, and then the weekends were just relaxing. And I
Nice.
can't express that enough. Like you're gonna burn out if you do this like 24/7, 7 days a week, you will burn out. So please, please, please take time to relax.
Yeah, that's honestly, I know like every person who plays games loves the expression go touch grass, but genuinely, go touch grass. I promise it's not a lie. It's actually super helpful.
Yeah,
Um
definitely.
yeah, sometimes you got to look outside at the sun and the birds and realize it's not all LinkedIn for sure.
Yep. Yep.
For sure, for sure. And like, yeah, like community, talking to people is such a cool way to be inspired. Like, I like personally, obviously, I'm on more of the art side, but like a lot of people in this chat are like super, super talented. It's so cool to see what everybody creates. It's like, it's the same thing with LinkedIn, a little more corporate sometimes, but like seriously, yeah, that community really is everything in this, which is really awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, like do you have advice for people applying to UI UX positions specifically, especially since you obviously promote so many resources for them?
Mm-hmm. For sure. I'd say, when you're applying, don't spray and pray. you know, really do. And I get it. Like times are tough and you really need a job and you just got to apply wherever. But honestly, I found more success when I applied for jobs that I was genuinely excited about and roles that I really truly felt like I was actually a good fit for. So I would say focus your energy on those jobs that you are super excited about, that you know you could knock out of the park. And it'll just show so much more in your application when you're writing that cover letter because you can see that you're genuinely excited about it. So I'd say, do that for first. And then I'd say make sure you do have some related work in your portfolio because
Mhm.
these recruiters really don't have a lot of time to spend looking through portfolios. Make sure the jobs that you're applying to, your work is related and front and center, easy to get to. So if it's
Mhm.
games, make sure you have a few game projects, even if they're just your own personal case studies. Make sure they're right there and easy to look through for sure.
Right, yeah, and, your art station too is a little bit, unique in the sense of it has kind of separate folders, which isn't something you necessarily see a whole lot.
Hmm.
Do
Hmm.
you have any advice for kind of organizing your art into these separate or, like, how much art you should be putting out there?
Yeah. So I'd say a lot of times I'll tell people for portfolios, if it's, website or otherwise, I'd say 8 is a pretty good number.
Mhm.
I wouldn't go more than that just because, again, like people don't have a lot of time to look through a lot of stuff. So have
Yeah.
8 of your best projects, no matter what they are, be it, UI work, illustration work, etc. But
Mhm.
then in each of those projects, make sure you show your process. Like, I want to see how you came up with that particular flow. Like, who were you talking to? Who did you interview? How did this problem arise to begin with? I want to see those early wireframes, those sketches, like even if they're just on paper and it's messy. Like, I love seeing
Yeah.
all of that. I want to see how you think. So, if the final project, the final imagery is great, but I want to
Mhm.
see how your brain works, like how you came up with that to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason, right? Like concept workbooks and all of these things are sold as separate entities. Like people want to see
Oh,
how
I
the
love that
sausage gets
stuff.
mate, so to speak.
Heck
Yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan.
Yep.
And for those that haven't seen it yet, we are dropping the link. Like Cat Craig's like Art Station is a fantastic
Oh,
kind of
thank you.
look into the portfolio and how this stuff works. I know a lot of starting artists just kind of like vomit everything out. That's what I did when I started. I just
Sure.
kind of threw everything and hope it stuck. But
Yeah.
organization is such a big kind of player to this. And she has a website because she's multi-talented. So also check out the website Stacey's dropping
Thank
there too.
you. Thank
Do you
you. I need to
have like
update it.
that's always how it goes. Do you have a preferred like your website or art station for kind of hosting your portfolio, so to speak?
I'd say sites like Behance and ArtStation are definitely easier because it's just a
Mm.
matter of like uploading. But I think there's something to be said about having your own website because you
Mhm.
can have your resume on there, you can have your contact info or at least, some kind of a contact form, and it's easy for people to get to you and contact you. And it just adds like another skill, right? Like, oh, like I coded this website or I'm very familiar with WordPress, so
Yeah.
it's just something else that you can say in your resume that you know how to do. So,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
a I mean, that's a great point. It's almost like a second, more eyes on the same thing, like in different forms
Yeah.
for sure.
Hmm. For
Yeah.
sure.
And when you're kind of designing these websites and stuff, do you have any advice of like, you should definitely have this front and center? You
Hmm.
shouldn't have this front and center?
Okay. Um, First piece of advice I always suggest is it's kind of hokey, but do competitive analysis, honestly. Like look at other portfolios, see what you like. And you can totally steal those ideas. Like obviously not one for one.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's kind of how I came up with my portfolio and it's definitely changed drastically like over the years for sure. But I
Mhm.
would always get inspiration from other portfolios that I loved. And then in terms of actual projects, again, like keep it pretty low. Like I'd say no more than 8, but at least 4, I'd say.
Mhm.
But again, make sure that you are telling me about your process, especially in UI UX. Like it's so much about thinking and really telling that story of how you kind of came to that solution that you came up with. So I want to see like how you think and how you feel, and when you spoke to other players, like how did they think and feel about this particular feature that you were working on. So I think that's the biggest thing for me, and I think it's
Mhm.
totally okay to have other skill sets in there, but I would
Mhm.
separate them out. So maybe have them in a different tab or something. So if you want UI
Okay. Yeah.
UX, make sure it's in one area. If you want 3D art, like put it in another tab or something. Don't mix everything together because I'd say that'd be really confusing for your recruiter. Like they'd say, "Well, what are you doing? Like what are you?" So, I would say like
Gotcha.
separate it in that way.
Okay, yeah, and for these, like, kind of, like, concept-y background things, like, for example, in 3D art, a lot of the time they wanna see your polygon count and how efficient things are. For
Sure.
UI, like, I know you feature a lot of, like, kind of flowchart-esque kind of designs and how you get there. Is there any, like, specific thing that you would tell people to include, like, 100% absolutely?
Mhm. Definitely wireframes. So that's kind
Mm,
of the same thing, and it's not exactly the same thing, but it's in the same vein, I guess I would say. So I want to see wireframes, and those flowcharts are really important because it
mm-mm.
tells me you were thinking about that journey that the player is going to take, for a
Right.
particular thing. So, if they are looking to join a match, like I did that for Convergence Studios, like how to join a match and
Mhm.
what it looks like. I want to see like, are they starting on the main menu or are they starting somewhere else? What happens if the internet goes out? Like, so you have to kind of account for all these other things. It's really not always just a straightforward A to B. So
Yeah.
making sure that you're kind of explaining all of that stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, right? Like how many I'm sure everybody has at least encountered it with game jams where you're like, "Oh my god, this asset is missing because none of us remembered that we need an exit screen or a menu screen or
Yeah.
whatever, you know?"
Yep. Yeah. That's why those journey maps are so important for sure.
Yeah, yeah, it's super cool too because you get to see the thought process kind of all at once, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. And for your volunteer work, kind of jumping back into that really quickly, do you
Uh-huh.
have advice for like safely navigating that space? Because that is a very hot topic, so to speak, kind of thing right now for a lot of game devs.
Yes, for sure. So the two studios that I found were actually on a subreddit called I Need a Team. I think they shortened it
Yeah,
to
that's how
like,
I found
yeah,
mine too.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, honestly. So I put just an intro on that subreddit and told them what I did. And I had like six different studios reaching out to me because I guess like UI
Wow.
is pretty hard to come by these days, I guess. So I ended up choosing two, and even that was a little too much, honestly. But I
Mhm.
found out they were just really cool people. And yeah, like you're obviously not going to get any income or anything, and it's hard, but it still gives you valuable experience, and you can still count it on your resume. It counts.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if like you're not getting paid, it still counts as working on a team, making a game, working with schedules and deadlines and all of this kind of stuff. It's all the same, you're just not getting a paycheck doing it. So yeah.
No, for sure, for sure. It is
Yeah.
like a really cool learning pipeline. And
Hmm.
speaking of which, did you have anything that like you would accredit to these volunteer teams where you're like, I learned how to do this from my volunteer
Yeah.
experience?
Honestly, I'd say like implementation into game engines. Like that's kind
Mhm.
of how I got better at doing that. So
Mhm.
with Convergence Studios, we use Unreal Engine, so I'm a little bit more
Okay.
familiar with Unreal for that reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's because I got a chance to work with them that I was able to really get in there and learn how to implement UI into the game engine. And that's where I started really, really loving Unreal Engine and having such a really cool time with it. So that was a big one. Learning and understanding roadmaps for games, like, what things you need to plan for is a big one.
Mhm.
Um, Wearing multiple hats, of course, is another one.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like, there's not always going to be one person for every role. Sometimes you have to do kind of multiple things. So those were some
Yeah.
big ones. And also just working with like a broad team. So we all were obviously remote, but we've had people that were in France, America,
Yeah.
India. So it's like you had to kind of coordinate with people all over the world. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard, I mean, at least from my own experience too, that like scheduling and organization is such an important part of like volunteering just to make sure you actually get it done and don't get
Yeah.
stuck in that, game dev hell kind of thing that everybody
Mm-hmm.
gets into.
Yeah,
That,
100%.
yeah. Yeah, and like, yeah, do you still, obviously, I would assume you would recommend volunteer work just based on your own experience. But
Mm-hmm.
do you have any like maybe red flags that you would recommend people look out for when, especially when they're on like a large social network like Reddit?
Mm. Um, It's really a gut check, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
I was really fortunate that the two teams that I decided to work with, like, they just turned out to be cool people.
Mhm.
But if they are trying to do or trying to ask you to do more than you're capable, or, really pushing you hard on deadlines when you have a daytime job and, like, they're giving you crap about that, like that's obviously red flags, you know? Even in like real paid jobs, like if they're doing that to you, that's not a really good environment and you shouldn't be
Yeah,
in it.
yeah, that's true.
You know, like crunch is never cool at all. I do know it happens, but if they're trying to make you crunch for a volunteer job, no. They can't, you know, that they can't do
Yeah.
that to you. So I'd say watch out for that for sure. Um, and
Mhm.
just, you know, just be smart about your own like personal information and everything. So keep that stuff like kind of close to the vest.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, everyone, like, obviously this goes for, on Discord as well, like, please be safe, share what you're
yeah,
comfortable sharing, but no, online is online. And
yeah,
definitely, yeah, if anybody's pressuring you to do work, especially if it's for $0 and out of the goodness of your heart, do not let
right.
somebody be mean to you over that. Absolutely not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But INAT is actually a really good one. Personally, at least, I found a lot of like more serious professionals are on that kind of subreddit, which is a really good
Hmm.
looking spot. And yeah, as Stacy dropped and Riku mentioned, Cave Bear Games is also a great one. They have a volunteer program that's actually like vetted, so you can make sure it's safe and secure. We super recommend that one too for kind of finding these volunteer opportunities because
Also,
it is
Plantasia
it's
is really
it's
good.
work. Sorry,
Yeah.
one more time.
I said also Plantasia is really good.
Yeah, Plantasia's so cool. The team was
Yeah,
like they killed that. That looks
they
I mean,
did.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and yeah, absolutely check out Plantasia and all the cool stuff the other partner studios are working on too.
Mhm.
Um kind of one more question then before we jump into Q&A because a
Sure.
lot of people have many different cues for you to A. Do you notice that there's any common pitfalls among UI UX juniors that you would really recommend like hey watch out for this or hey make sure you're doing this or even if
Mm.
it's more broad than UI UX?
Um, the biggest thing that I'm realizing is that you really do need to know how to implement your work in a game engine. And that's
Mm-hmm.
something that I wish I had known early on myself. It's something that kind of didn't get me a lot of interviews because I didn't have a lot of experience in implementation yet. So
Uh,
I'd say definitely learn some game engine. So I'd say you don't have to learn like all of them. I'd say pick one
mhm.
that you think you'd be interested in and learn that, and then it'll translate to others. So
Yeah,
I
so
have a
true.
background in Unreal Engine, but at Jam City we use Unity. So I had to kind of, relearn how to use Unity. And, I think I feel pretty confident in it now. But yeah, I'd
Mhm.
say definitely make sure you know how to do implementation. That'll always help. That'll always be something that's really attractive to hiring managers for sure. So I'd say definitely do that. Make sure you show your work. I know a lot of people like to show the final product, but again, I can't stress enough how much I want to see your thought process. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Um, and then, like I mentioned earlier too, like just again, networking. Like you kind of just have to. Like at this point, you probably could get away with not networking maybe 10 years ago, but you just have to in this
You need
market.
it
You
now.
just have to. Yeah.
Truly. Yeah, yeah, folks, if you take one thing away from this, it is like please try to network. Please like notice how, kind and forgiving people are in this market. If you throw a message even in general chat to talk about your favorite game, there is a 95% chance Stacy is going to send some horrific brain rotted meme to you. So it really is really easy to reach out to people. I super recommend it. Even if you're introverted, like it's such a necessity. And I hate pushing people with like maybe social anxieties to do it. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, it is such a necessary space that we can be thankful that there are accessible ways to do it now, at least, which is getting a lot better and super cool. And Kat Craig is absolutely one of them. So
Aw, thank you.
please go check her out on LinkedIn and on her portfolio. And now
Yeah.
we're going to jump into some Q&As if you're good to go.
Absolutely. Let's go for it.
Sweet. So we'll start with Sakshi here, who is also a UI UX designer. How about that? And she's
Sweet.
asking, how do we find a mentor? I struggle
Hmm.
with asking the right questions. Do we directly ask them if they're interested in mentoring us?
So, a great resource is amirsatvat.com. He has a list of mentors. I'm on it, so you could reach out to me. I may have some time. And then let's see. I know there's another Discord server that I am a part of that they do mentorships as well.
Oh, super cool.
I'm
Yeah.
yeah, I'm a part of like so many I can't remember, but as soon as I find it, I will bring it out. But yeah, just take a
Yeah.
look at We Can Fix It in UI. I know they have a Discord channel and
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
they
yeah.
do
I think that's in
mentoring.
there.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
they do
everyone's super
mentoring
cool
as
there.
well. Yeah. Um and then yeah, like you could even just reach out to people that you look up to in LinkedIn and just ask them if they have the time. That's a resource. And one more resource is you could look at ADP list as well. That's actually where I found
Mhm.
my mentor. Shout out to Ruan. He's amazing. And you could always find someone through that and it's free. It doesn't cost anything. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, those are great options. Seriously, like I didn't even consider ADP. Yeah. Honestly, again, this kind of jumps back to like when I said most people are pretty positively responsive, even if they don't have the time. At
Yeah.
least personally, I've had people still say, like, oh, yeah, we can jump on a coffee chat. We can still, talk about something. I just don't have
Hmm.
the capacity right now.
Right.
So, yeah, 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 for
Yep.
sure.
Hmm.
Some are obviously like some people do charge for their mentorship, but Amir Satvat's resources I know are 100% free.
Correct.
ADP, like you said, is absolutely free, and I do recommend maybe going through those channels first, especially if
Yeah.
you're not currently employed,
Hmm.
which I'm sure a lot of us are and can empathize with for sure.
Hmm. For sure.
All right. And question 2 comes from Cadence the Paper Wizard here, asking, what are some recommended exercises or things to practice on to build up your skills for UI and UX?
Yeah. One of the things you can do first off, like as simple as it sounds, is play games, but don't think of it as just a player. Like think of it as someone
Mhm.
else. Like if I had like hard of hearing, how would this feel to me? If I was colorblind, how would this feel to me? So that's the first step, just trying to play games in an accessibility standpoint. That's step one. And then just redesigning UI of older games. That's a lot of times I recommend that to folks as well. So take a game that's, a bit older and that has some UI that, could use some love for sure. That's what I did
Yeah.
with the first Last of Us game. And you don't
Mhm.
have to redesign the entire game. You could do like maybe 5 screens or something like that and see how you could improve it, but definitely walk through like why you chose those decisions when you did the redesigns. It could be
Yeah.
because it was a contrast issue, or this was really distracting when I was trying to fight a boss or something like that. So try that for starters, and then when you feel confident, try to implement it in a game engine and see if you can get it working.
Yeah. That's like, I mean, fantastic advice. I want to say it's almost parallel to kind of fan art in a lot of illustration where it's
Oh
like
yeah,
people like to like mess around and be like, oh, but I know a ton of people who have been hired or been noticed based solely off of being passionate about what they're making. Truly,
definitely. Yep.
truly, yeah. So that's really cool advice. Yeah, especially with like all the remastered games coming out. I mean, Last of Us got a remaster again just recently, so like people are
Yep.
always looking for that for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great question, Cadence. And we have a question 3 from Idle Guy saying, I've been working on Unity and Figma, both game design
Nice.
and UX UI. Congratulations, that's huge.
Hmm.
But I'm still finding it hard to find an entry level job. Do you have any advice
Mm.
for that?
Ooh, it's tough. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Like, there's so many studios that say you need like 3 years of experience and stuff like that, which
Yeah.
is totally not entry level. Um, so that's when I say to you, like, do lean into those volunteer opportunities because again, that does count. I know it's not a paycheck, but it still gives you that experience. So I'd say take a bridge job, doing retail or whatever it is you can to get food on the table. But
Mhm.
then when you have some time after work or before work, work on games, work on that volunteer stuff, because that still definitely counts as experience. And you can put all of that on
Absolutely,
your
yeah.
resume and in your portfolio as well.
Oh yeah, I mean personally, I don't know about your volunteer experience. Like my original volunteer work was arguably more in depth and heavy than some of the actual paid projects I've had, just in terms of
Yeah,
learning and workload, truly.
100%. Like the stuff that I did for Larian was nothing. Like obviously it was cool, but in
Of
terms of
course,
how much
yeah.
work, it was
Yeah.
nothing compared to what I was doing with the others, the volunteer stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and I know a lot of people like to poo-poo it, but seriously, it is legitimate work. You are committing hours and hours and hours of your time to creating something, and that alone is a job in itself. To do it for
Yep.
free just shows that you're even more passionate about it, truly.
Yep. 100%.
That being said, I hope you all get jobs because we love being
Yeah.
paid for our work.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah, great question, though. Great question. I'm glad you're staying optimistic about it while you're learning. How about, let me scroll here. From Sabrina S, we have the question, how do you know if you're a good fit for a job when reading a job posting?
Um, it just goes to like how it feels in your gut. Like if you're reading those bullet points and you're like, "Oh yeah, I think I could do that." Like that's how you know you think you'd be a good fit. If it's something that you're familiar with already, that's already a win. If that's something you feel like you could learn and you feel like you could be confident learning, then you're a good fit. More times than not, a lot of studios put this stuff like just as like a nice to have. They don't say it's a
Mhm.
nice to have, but a lot of times it is a nice to have, and you can learn that stuff on the job. So
For
if
sure,
you
for
feel
sure.
like you could do the stuff that they have listed in your gut and you're like, ooh, that sounds like fun. I feel like I could do it, then that means you're a right fit.
Yeah, I mean, there's such a kind of border between like spray and pray, trying to catch everything, and like applying to a lot of things because you're passionate about it, which I would say is completely different. And like Kat said, like if you think in your gut you can do it, like use that confidence because they want to see that you're confident that you can produce what you say you can produce for sure. Like don't let that kind of imposter mindset get to you. So many people that I know can nail a job won't apply to things because they're like afraid to apply, truly.
Yeah. Yep.
Also, like
Well,
LinkedIn says they love tracking clicks. Not a lot of people necessarily apply despite clicking. It's just those who have clicked
yeah,
apply. So don't get bogged down by 10,000 applicants in the last 24 hours. Like, shoot your
right.
shot for real.
And I'd say don't even apply through LinkedIn. Like I would go to
Yeah,
the company website because I don't know. At least for me, it
that's a
just felt like it was
fantastic
actually
point.
going somewhere.
No, honestly, yeah. And like you get to see the person kind of responding to your email a little bit better,
Yeah.
which is great for
Mhm.
networking, hint, hint. Like,
Yep.
yeah, no, that's a great piece of advice. Seriously, if they have a website, go to the website first
Yeah.
for sure.
Yep.
All right. We've got, so actually, I do see that you have number 5. I am going to hop to number 6 just because we've answered one of your questions already, but we will come back. Riku just wanted to piggyback off of a question, so we're going to kind of mush it together. Asking, is it okay to put volunteer work in the same spot of professional work on a resume?
Yeah. I did.
Yeah, I don't say one. Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they don't need to know that it wasn't paid. Yeah, like it's like I
Truly,
said,
truly.
it's like experience is experience is experience. Like I can say it till I'm blue in the face. It really truly does not matter.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to say it was volunteer, honestly. Like I think I just put
Mhm.
part-time on there for me. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I always encourage, like, especially the moderators at entry level, because a lot of them are doing it to, help out with their resume. Like, don't tell them that this was a volunteer position. Just say that you work for
yeah,
entry level. Say you
they
do
don't
this
need
for
to
entry
know.
level. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Again, it's legitimate work, and anybody who kind of is to be taken seriously will tell you it's legitimate work, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And Riku, piggybacking off of this, would like to know if it's appropriate to list volunteer work in the professional experience section on your LinkedIn profile.
Yep. Again, I do. the same thing.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times my resume is pretty much mirrored on what I have on my LinkedIn. So yeah, absolutely. It's there with the rest of my professional stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, like if it looks good and it helps you, like absolutely use it.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah.
Sweet. And Rebecca, welcome to the server, new to the server, asking, what is your experience working remote in the game industry? Could you walk us through a typical day?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've actually been working remotely since 2020, and
Mm.
it was just actually this past Friday that I worked at Jam City's office, one of them, and it felt really weird because I haven't been in an office for so long.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a typical day is I kind of normally, get up around 8, and because a lot of the team is on the West Coast, like I can kind of take my time.
Oh, yeah.
So I get my coffee and then I kind of like sit down and I check Slack. Like we use Slack as our main mode of communication. And I see,
Mhm.
like if there's anything that kind of needs my attention right away. Otherwise, I kind of, pull together whatever feature I'm working on and see what needs to be done first. And then I generally will have a stand-up meeting with the team, which is kind of going over some of the things that we need to get done for a particular sprint. When I say sprint, I'm not sure if everyone's kind of familiar with that, but it's basically like 3 weeks of work that you're working on for a particular
Mm.
feature. So, this 3 weeks I'm finishing up Battle Pass. Like I just implemented the hero imagery into Unity. So that's
Mhm.
kind of what I was finishing up for this particular sprint. So just checking to make sure no one needs anything from the VFX side or from the engineering side, if anything needs to be fixed or changed. And then I let them know in stand up like what I got done or what I'm waiting on. And then after that, I generally kind of like dive into whatever I need to get done for that particular day. So that's generally pretty much how days go. Sometimes I'll hop on a call with someone if I have a question or if I don't understand something, I'll get on a call with someone in Slack and they'll explain it to me. But yeah, that's generally how the day goes. It's pretty light meeting wise, which is amazing because I used to work somewhere where it would be like 6 hours of meetings and I wouldn't
Oh.
get anything done.
Sounds like a
So
nightmare.
it was. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super cool. Yeah, I personally, I'm such a pro remote work person. I don't know about you, but I
Same.
absolutely
No,
adore it. Yeah.
100%. Like I couldn't go back to working in an office every day.
Yeah. No, totally. And like you said, like you can afford to be wherever you kind of want in the world, which is super
Oh
nice.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And kind of in that same vein of accessibility, we'll jump to our last question here, just because I do think it is really important to talk about is accessibility in games nowadays.
Mm.
Cleomi is asking, are there any good resources for more info on accessibility in UI and UX design for games?
Yes, definitely. So one big thing that a lot of us will refer to is Xbox's accessibility guidelines. Like it has its
Mm,
own guidelines for games, and it'll lay
mhm.
out like, what you need to know for font sizes and colors and all of that stuff. And also another resource that I use quite a bit is Can I Play That? It's a
Ooh,
website
that's cool.
run by folks who, have, color blindness or are deaf, and they've played various games and they talk about their
Oh.
experience, playing those games. So that's an awesome resource for sure.
Yeah, I haven't heard of Can I Play That? That's super cool that it's like you
Yeah.
get like direct feedback from people actually like in the community
Yep.
is
And
really
Stacy's
interesting.
just on it, just dropping all the
Yeah,
links.
this is
So
why I'm like Stacy's incredible. She does so much. She is on it. And sorry, Stacy, I'm gonna make you grab another link shortly. One of our members in the Discord actually also who is developing a game has talked a little bit in general chat about like one button accessibility and one click accessibility,
yeah.
which is super cool and obviously has a lot of UI constraints, almost similarly to PC to mobile, where you're really squishing things down. So I
For sure.
super recommend you take a look into that as well, Cleomi. That's a really cool question. And I'm glad people are looking out for accessibility for folks nowadays too, which is really
Yes,
cool to
thank
see.
you. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, unfortunately, that will have to be where we close questions. I'm very sorry if we didn't get to yours, but I think we got to the majority of them. I don't want to hold Kat for too long. But thank you for joining us today. Thank you
Of
for taking an
course.
hour out of your time. I know you're busy. I know it's just about Christmas, so things are even more busy than they should be. But
Well,
yeah,
thank
it means
you.
the
This
world
was
to me and
lovely.
everybody else, truly.
Of course. I'm so happy you asked, and thank you all for
No.
joining, and it was lovely chatting with you all. And feel free to send me a message on LinkedIn and I'll try and help, wherever I can.
Yeah, and thank you so much. Yeah, again, we're gonna have the links up, and we'll be posting this pretty routinely through LinkedIn once we get the recording. But please check out Kat Craig's work. It's really cool to like reference when you're doing your own work, kind of to see how a professional is looking at things. She's got a really cool website. She's a very approachable person. Please check her out, say hi, all that great stuff. Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, Kat. Again,
Thank
thank you for
you.
joining us. Take care. Have
Of
a great night.
course.
Hopefully your
You
cat
guys
doesn't keep
too.
screaming.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Happy holidays.
Take care. Happy holidays, guys.